So we're here today recording a special podcast for the Lowestoft Towns Fund, and I'm joined by Stephen Javes and Craig Rivett. So first of all, Stephen, do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Hi, my name is Stephen Javes. I am the chair of what was known as the Places Board, and from hitherto we will call the Towns Fund Board at the request of our friends in central government. My background is that I was chief executive of the Orwell Housing Group for 27 years, having retired 3 years ago. Since then, I've taken over the chair of the board at the request of Stephen Baker, the chief executive of the local authority, who I used to harass continually when I was working about the condition of the town. So I was wandering around a French supermarket one day, and I got a phone call saying, "Stephen, would you chair the board because you've harassed me so much about the town over the years?" And the rest is history. Also, I chair the audit committee, and I'm a board member at the James Paget University Hospital. Do a little bit of management consultancy for a law firm and a construction company, and I coach management techniques mostly to young people that are prepared to listen.
And off the bat of what Stephen said there, really, I have got a physical copy of the town investment plan here that really what we're going to be talking about in this podcast is inside this. It is also available online if you want to read and look at the town investment plan further in depth. So, Craig, let's go on to you now as well. Let's find out more about you.
Well, hello there, Josh. Yeah, I'm Craig Rivett, and I'm Deputy Leader of East Suffolk Council, as well as having cabinet responsibility for economic development, assets and the energy projects. How I got into the role, so I had to be elected, so I'm not employed by the council, but I'm elected, and then once the Conservatives have a majority, you're then able to form an administration, and for which I then picked up deputy leadership as well as the cabinet responsibilities, which I really enjoy. So in addition to that, I am also a county councillor, so at Suffolk County Council. And it really is varied. I really enjoy it. One day you could be talking like this morning to a resident about local issues, and then like with parts of my portfolio, projected to see somewhere in the region of about a third of UK energy coming through the district. You're talking to people, such as EDF or SPR about, multi-billion pound projects.
Thank you, Craig. And I suppose I should introduce myself as well, really. So I'm Joshua. I'm the development producer of Sunrise Studios, which is a community production company part of Access Community Trust, which is a regional charity that is based here in Lowestoft. I suppose an average day for me is hard to describe. There's lots of different things that go on working within a charity. Supporting the local community and doing what I do as well within Sunrise Studios, but also having the role as the young person's lead ambassador on the ambassadors group for the Towns Fund. So I suppose really I should get into the first question for you, Stephen. So what is the role of the Place Board for this in Lowestoft?
The Place Board, I firstly put the Place Board into context. The Place Board is an independent organisation, independent from the local authority, made up of private, public and third sector individuals. What I am going to do now is give you a list of those people, and I'm actually going to read it rather than just sitting here and doing it off the top of my head, because I may offend somebody if I miss them. So on go the glasses, and this is me reading the list. So the members of the board: obviously myself as an independent chair, Anglian Water, Lowestoft Rising, Scottish Power Renewables, Business in the Community, East Coast College, the Department of Works and Pension, Lowestoft Town Council, East Suffolk Council, Lowestoft Vision, Suffolk County Council, the Marina Theatre, CFAS, First Light Festival, New Anglia, LEP, Park Holidays, Marks and Spencer's, the Environment Agency, Associated British Ports, the local MP, Peter Alders, and the Suffolk Chamber of Commerce. So you can see why I wanted to read them and not try and memorise them. So what do we do? The board's responsibility is to work with the local authority in setting up the strategic thinking behind the town investment plan, to monitor that plan in terms of delivery, and act, as all boards should do, as a critical friend, and to provide challenge to the officers in terms of what they're preparing. in readiness for submission to central government or other delivery models that they may have. More specifically, it's there to support any of the local councils, including East Suffolk Council, in related work with the investment plan. Coordinate resources, make sure that everybody's pointing in the same direction, and coordinate stakeholders that are involved with the board, to act as an advisory body for the local authority and anybody that wants to get involved and offer advice in very many ways, not the least of which the ambassadors group that you've already mentioned, I'll come on into in a second, and to oversee the delivery of the town investment plan. And then just going back to the ambassadors group are really important, and they were a great initiative, I think, from the board to have people on the ground that are a communication conduit, both from the board and up to the board, as to what's happening actually on the ground. And indeed something that we need to work even harder at, promoting the ambassadors group. I think they're key to the way forward and getting our message out into the community. And then last but not least, some more recent work we're looking to do is to start to add value beyond the investment plan and the Towns Fund, and that is to start to look at the environment of the town per se, and try and get both us as householders, businesses, the public sector, third sector, taking more responsibility and care for the environment to add value to that environment.
I couldn't agree more, and especially with the ambassadors group as being, kind of that voice of sharing what's going on with other young people as well. It is really valuable and quite an honour, to be honest, in times of what's going on in the town with all the investment and, all the exciting works going on, going forward to 2030 and beyond is just something as, for example, me still going through school life or whatever in Lowestoft, I probably wouldn't have thought would happen. But, it's the likes of me and Patch who I work with and even younger people, the future of tomorrow, that this will really benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about making sure that everybody understands what's happening, and the broader the reach of the ambassadors group, the better. And I think my view is that anybody that wants to and has the inclination to get involved with that should do.
I think it's a great testimony to the sign of the support for the project, because when you start some of these projects, you're never too certain whether people are going to get on board. But as we saw, from Stephen's list that he's read about those that are on the main board, as we then started the ambassadors as well. So it shows that there's a great deal of support that wants to see the project succeed.
Yeah.
So, Craig, what is the Lowestoft Town Investment Plan?
Well, here it is in all its glory. It's an absolute great read. Trust me, it's not too thick. And it's got some great pictures and some great stories to tell about all the things that's being planned for the investment plan. But it forms part of a number of extra documents. But this is available online. So by all means, get online and have a look for the town investment plan. And it goes into detail about some of the other things that we've got going on. So, for example, the town master plan, and I'm sure Stephen will cover this later, when it talks about the quarters that we're looking at in the town centre. And then you've got the great story of Lowestoft, which, again, for a light read about the story of Lowestoft, anyone can pick up. There's some great stories. And it picks up also something that the board have been doing, is that Lowestoft brand. So you'll be able to see that there is that kind of common theme to being able to promote the Lowestoft story. So, but back to your question about the town investment plan. So what it was looking to do was to be a catalyst for attracting further investment, and that's public and private, because as a council we can only do so much, but it's important that other people have that vision that is joined up, so that everyone who wants to come in, they don't pull in different directions and all those sorts of things. So, and it sits alongside some investment that's going on, and I have to write this one down because it's not like we're starting from a standing position. There is so much going on for Lowestoft, and I'm a Lowestoft lad, and I never thought that I would see as much going on in the town as what's going on at the moment. I was with a resident the other day, and they sort of complained slightly about the roadworks that were going around the town, and I said to him, I get the point, if you're sitting in roadworks, it's not the best, and I think there was an advert years ago, I think it was from Carling or whatever, and all the different utilities were saying, oh, what about if while the hole is in the ground, we'll all do it? And I think the tagline was how refreshing. But it's not just, say, like the utilities digging a hole because there's a problem. It's because we've got so much going on. So you have got, and I'm just going to go through the list, you've got the Gullwing Bridge, which is currently being built, which is going great guns. You've got the Flood Defence Project to help defend the town from the flood risk. So you'll see some of that work that's going on, and that the Mitre Gate needs to be installed as well, and that will come down the road later on. You've also got, I'm sure Stephen will mention this later on, is about the beach huts, real striking design. It's going to be a new draw for the town. They're going on at the moment. Other partners, you've got like Carlton Marshes, spent millions on a new visitor centre. That's what's going on. You've also got, next to the beach huts, you've also got CFAS. They're doing renovating their headquarters, which you think is the government department. Right on our doorstep is the headquarters for the Science and Marine. Also, you've got 2 heritage action zones. Lowestoft is only, and I always repeat this, it's only one of 7 towns nationally that has 2 heritage action zones. And, things that have come out of those, because sometimes people say, well, what's all that about? Well, you've got the Nest Park. That's going marvellous. You've also got, which probably people see as some of that roadworks, you've got gigabit broadband being installed in the town. Now, for some people, Lowestoft is the most easterly town, which makes them a bit more distant. But with gigabit broadband, not only will residents be able to watch or, stream games or whatever at world-competing speeds, what you've also got is the likes of CFAS or the college or businesses that handle big data being able to do that here in Lowestoft. They don't have to go to Norwich or London. They can come to Lowestoft and do it. And that is another thing that's going to put Lowestoft on the map. You've also got things like the First Light Festival. Before lockdown, who would have thought we'd had nearly 30,000 people on the beach? What else have I got in here? Scottish Power Renewables, they spent 25 million with their operations and maintenance base. And you look in here in the investment plan, we're looking to encourage, those kind of investors because you've got such wealth of opportunity with the offshore wind. East Point Pavilion, we're doing some refurbishment on that. The college, for young people that are thinking, what kind of career do I want? They invested tens of millions of pounds in a new energy skills centre. So you've got world-class training facilities, and they also did a link with Maersk, which you probably know is a global shipping line, to provide training. So what an absolute opportunity that is currently going on. So a long point, but I think it was worthwhile making because you've got so much going on, and I'm sure there'll be something on that list that I've probably forgotten. But so you've got all of that going on, and then you've got this. And so within this as well, it's broken down into 5 themes, and you'll see this as colour-coded as you go through. So what I opened it up here is talking about transformation of our town centre, retail and leisure. That's one of the 5 themes. You've also got living your life in Lowestoft, celebrating our culture and heritage, employment, enterprise and skills, and collaborating and connecting. So, like when we've got Stephen, who is the chair of the Place Board, along with the District Council, are working really closely, but we're working with a whole range of people as well. And that was really reassuring, because when we started this, we thought, well, are people going to buy into this? And now we're all back to meeting in rooms and what have you. You tend to forget, but I can remember when we first launched it, we had to launch it in the Orbis Centre because we couldn't fit everybody in a room in the council building. And you've got other partners such as, Historic England, Arts Council England, and the National Lottery Fund. So they're all coming together through this document to say this is the way we think Lowestoft can be and what it should be. And hopefully we can make them come to fruition.
I think you couldn't have said that any better. It's I think one of the really nice things that is happening at the moment in Lowestoft as well is obviously all of this investment that is coming in directly from other companies and organisations themselves, and then obviously working, like Carlton Marshes, working with National Lottery to get funding from the Heritage Lottery Fund as well for their expansions. Yeah. It's really inspiring to see all of that work going on in the background along with all of this other investment coming in.
This is it. You've got people that are saying, I want to come to Lowestoft, I want to invest, and we want visitors to come and see that, whether it be, as you say, for Carlton Marshes, they want to come and see that marvellous facility we've got right on our doorstep, or you get, like with the Port Gateway, which I'm sure Stephen will mention later, when you've got that opportunity in the eastern region. One quick fact is that if projections come off by 2050, the eastern region will produce more wind energy than all of Scotland. That's the scale of the opportunity. So if you've got companies like SPR coming in and saying, we want our base there, hopefully other companies will come in and they'll say, actually, we want to be that cluster, and it's going to be great opportunities for anybody for high-skilled jobs. And then that way, it doesn't have to be the district council that is constantly pushing and saying, Lowestoft's a great town. Because I think there is that kind of quiet resolve in Lowestoft, which is, we can get on with this. Just give us the tools.
And I think there's, as you've just touched on there as well, there's that indirect, benefit that companies bring with creating the opportunities and jobs as well.
Yeah.
I suppose now, Stephen, it'd be really fitting to actually go on to the projects that are going to be benefited from the Towns Fund.
Yeah.
So what are the 5 projects that are actually being developed? And can you give us a little bit of an outline of what them projects are?
I'll canter through them for you. As you've already indicated, there's 5 main projects totaling circa 24.9 million in value. I won't split them down for you in value, but just in no particular order. We start off with the cultural quarter, which is the area, for those that know the town, around Battery Green and the Marina Theatre. And the view there is to make sure that we enhance that in terms of a leisure offer for visitors to the town and indeed the inhabitants of the town, and improve the Marina Theatre itself, so that the leisure offer, both night and day, is much better than it currently is in that part of the town, and obviously try and increase the footfall for visitors as well. Then moving on to the seafront, which is the second bid, is the overarching objective there is to improve the public realm up from the Royal Green all the way along the seafront. And then more specifically, we've got the work that's already started on the pavilion, and also the chalets further along the seafront up towards CFAS that are currently being built and will be finished this year, 2022. That's Jubilee Chalets, and now I've engaged my brain and remembered what we've called them. But they are looking absolutely fantastic, and I hope that everybody's proud of them. Then moving on, as I say, in no particular order, we've then got the historic quarter of the town. The key thrust there will be getting the town hall back into use, a lovely and beautiful building that needs to be used by the community. Also the schools, and improving the schools which link the high street down into the old fishing village and to the Ness, and improving the tourism and the public offer there, again, in terms of attracting people to the town. Then there's the Port Gateway, in association with Associated British Ports. There we're looking to try and benefit from the offshore industry and the wind and the energy sector offshore. Potential of benefiting from Sizewell C as well, but to generally, with ABP, to take the derelict land all around the port, make it more vibrant, commercially more viable, with a view to bringing skills and benefits and employment into the town. That takes us then through to left, the Station Square. And the Station Square is relatively self-explanatory. It's about improving that area generally, and getting the buildings back into use, not the least of which being the post office, and works moving along well there to bring that back into use and enhance the offer, both again for the residents and people visiting the town. All of that sits in a time spectrum of between now, 2022, and 2026, with it all being completed. And as of today, we will be hopefully signing 4 of the 5 bids off, with a view to sending them to central government.
That's brilliant news. And I think, from a young person's point of view as well, it's the likes of the historic quarter and the cultural quarter that are 2 projects that really stand out for me. Benefiting young people as well, and I think as well in the seafront project as well, with the striking new pavilion as a venue, and a new community space, and just generally improving spaces around us where people enjoy any day anyway today.
Yeah.
And it's just making them better for the future.
I think so, and it's about general improvement and improving the public realm and creating a pride in the town is really, really important for us. And as I've been saying all along, we've got to be brave and maybe not doing same old, and do some things that are different. And if they work, great. And if they fail, it's not the end of the world. At least we've really tried to be different. Because I don't think same old is good enough anymore.
No. And I think, it's the likes of spaces that other, organisations and groups within the community that can get involved with, like the Pavilion, is really exciting. And there's some exciting events and plans that will go forward where everyone, works together even more as well.
As you say, like with the scores, for those that have been born and raised in Lowestoft, that's part of their history. I've got relatives that are old enough that can tell you they used to live up the scores. And, whilst that's changed, we've got things like the Nest Park, which has been a great success. Yeah. We just recently had to put in a new footpath because it was being so well used, they were wearing out the grass. So, but that was nice to see that it was so well received, and it was a good project. So, like when you say when it comes to the scores, and as Stephen says with the town hall, it had a use in an old world. There's going to be a new use, and when it comes into fruition, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
And it needs to be bold, because you can't do, as Stephen says, same old anymore.
No, that's right.
And I think that's, fits in really well with the likes of what could potentially go in the town hall as well. With that, it's not going down the same old route. It's thinking outside the box. And actually, what does the Lowestoft deserve that we've traditionally sort of probably looked at but just brushed over? And it's getting rid of that brush and actually going with it, and I suppose in a way being daring.
And I have vested history with the Ness and the old fishing village, and my mum and dad went on their honeymoon there.
So I suppose from that we should move on to really what the process is of developing these projects as well.
There is a process involved. I think it was last year, we got the great news of the 24.9 from government. And it's not like it's the end of the process whereby we get a marvellous great big cheque that says here's 24.9, go away and spend it. What it's a case of, and all sort of towns that sort of bid into that fund had to turn around and say, this is what we think we can achieve, and this is the kind of money we think we will require. Do you agree with us? And it was great news. I think it was about a year ago that government turned around and said, actually, we agree. And another thing that I don't think was advertised too widely was that for some other towns, when they got that message back saying, congratulations, you've got an award, there were a few extra conditions because they thought, we need a bit more detail on that. Our bid didn't have that. We were far more a case of, that's a great job, which is brilliant. It's a great endorsement of the Place Board, as Stephen, I'm sure, will say, is that kind of critical friend along with all the kind of stakeholders, so that they're robust projects and everybody's been involved in developing them. So we got that sign-off, and then the next part is we have to build up the business cases, so that we have to go back to government and say, thank you for the allocation of 24.9, but this is what those specific projects will look like. And that is very shortly going to have to be signed off by the District Council and both by Stephen as chairman of the board. And that just contains even more detail, because you can imagine if you're spending taxpayer money, it needs to be spent wisely and it needs to be spent well. So the Treasury have a standard, and they cover all sorts of things like strategic case, economic case, financial, commercial and management. But, picking up on things like, if it's financial, like at the moment, you go at the petrol station and fill up, jolly expensive. And so you need to, with costing in things like inflation, hopefully they'll go down and we can use the money for a greater scope, but we need to be mindful of inflation. Other things like, if you go to the DIY shops locally, at the moment, costs of those kind of things are going up, and so we'd be mindful if we are doing projects. We need to be mindful of those kind of things as well. But there's other things that it picks up. So, with the community, are we engaging properly with the community? Because it's not a case of this is a project that you do something to Lowestoft. This is something you want to do with them. And like with Your Life of Lowestoft, great film, and you've got that community involvement, and also you've got that kind of cultural awareness of what Lowestoft was, what it is, and people learn from that. and make it a prouder sense of place. And that's something that also is going to be built up. So you've got that community. You've got things like crime as well, about how we can do those things as well, so that we don't encourage, but actually you can create things that perhaps deter it, as well as perhaps the more obvious things like creating skilled jobs. So there's a whole wealth of things that go into those business cases, and they go back to government, and then once they're happy with that, then we can get into the more tangible things, which rightly people want to see. I'm keen like that. You want to see spades in the ground. So hopefully, soon as they're all signed off, we can get some spades in the ground.
That's really brilliant news, and I think that's what everyone always wants to see, isn't it? As well is actual action and it going on. A bit like the bridge, obviously. You know, tons of people didn't believe it would ever happen, even when it got accepted and agreed on. But now they've seen it. You know, you can't say no more.
You can't, and you're absolutely right, Joshua. I can remember having family that have been in Lowestoft all their life, and they say, you know, I might not see it in my lifetime, but... And I remember the project team saying the documentation involved in that filled a transit van. But people don't see that bit. Rightly, there has to be the kind of rigorous assessment and processes to make sure that it's done properly. But we all want to see high-vis, hard hats, shovels in the ground. And like when you look out across there now, they're making great progress, and everyone can finally say, it's going ahead. Yeah. We're nearly there.
And it's impressive how fast it's going as well with that.
Oh, it's lovely. Can't wait. I really can't wait for that.
So I suppose lastly, really, for you, Craig, so where is all of this funding actually coming from? And then how will that be spent on this Town Funds project?
So the 24.9 will come from government, as well as, with other partners, they'll be looking to bring in... for their projects, they'll bring in funding. So like, for example, with the port, ABP and their LEAF project, they'll be investing in that. And as I said right at the beginning, it's about sort of demonstrating the confidence that this is the place to invest, so that we can encourage more people with that 24.9 to invest. But, more specifically, I always have to make sure I get this right now that they've changed the name of the department. It's the Department for Levelling Up Housing and Communities. And so, as we say, that was the 24.9. And within the Lowestoft investment plan, that isn't 24.9, isn't going to pay for everything. It's that kind of enabler. And you'll see within this document there, there's hundreds of millions of pounds that will be required if we were to get all of this to come to fruition, and hopefully we can. But those other partners, as I say, it could be private sector investment, as well as the district council. We will always support where we can and as far as we can. You've got the county council. And as we go through the business cases, we can develop them in more detail. And as pots come in and they arrive and they go, we can always, apply for those. And we've got a good track record of, being able to secure funds where we need to.
Brilliant. And I think, that it's all positive news at the end of the day that Lowestoft has long awaited, really.
This is it. You look at the history of Lowestoft. In my lifetime, it's had a few knocks, and it's been a shame to see that we've lost some of those big employers. But actually, it's on the rise, and there is this collective ambition. And like I said right at the very beginning, you look at that list of all the things that are going on at the moment. When I was at school, and a long time ago, I remember teachers saying to me, "Oh, we need a third crossing," and that was all it was. And here we are. It's being built, and you've got gigabit broadband and all these other things going on. I never in my wildest dreams thought that we'd be seeing all this investment coming in. And Lowestoft's got to grab that opportunity and run with it.
I suppose really last question for you, Stephen, to finish this off. How can people, get involved with the Towns Fund projects going forwards?
I think the important thing is, if there's people who are interested in the board, albeit the board is very large already, and as the officers know, I'm not a fan of large boards, but it needs to be. So there's always the opportunity, if you're in business, to approach at the board level. But in terms of Towns Fund, it's about checking any consultation and where there's an opportunity to have a voice, have it. And the devil will be in the detail, and there will be opportunities in the future for people to have their voice and have an opinion and say what they think as the money is being spent. But also that ambassadors group is really, really important. And I can't remember what it's at now. I think it's something like 200 people. If it was 300-400, it wouldn't worry me unduly, because I do think the more people that are on the ground listening to the message and or sending messages up, the better. So there are a few areas.
So for people that want to learn more about all this exciting project, you've got various ways that you can find out about this. In any search engine, if you were just to type in Think Lowestoft, that will invariably provide you with a whole host of results. But on top of that, you've got things like the District Council website. If you've got any particular questions, you can come to economicregen@eastsuffolk.gov.uk, that email address. Equally, you've got the district councillors and the county councillors that are within the town, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to take any questions and pass them on if they don't know the answers themselves, because so many of them are involved in the project as well.
Brilliant, thank you for that, Craig. And that is, how you can get involved yourself, really, and find out more. Just go online and search for thinklowestoft.co.uk.